Since the boys made their debut way back in 2013, the amount of achievements the boys earned is enormous. I mean, it got to the point where it's just impossible to measure the amount of love BTS is receiving. Putting aside all the good things, it seems like there is something that the boys will never ever shake off, no matter how successful they become. This is the fact that no amount of trophies can save them from rude people, even from the grasp of some rude fans. And while ARMYs are very loving, there are still a few of them who can get pretty out of hand sometimes. This is why RM is always on guard, and while the leader can be a softy at times, since he is super kind-hearted, Namjoon can be scary.
증명하겠습니다.
Especially when you mess with his beloved members. Do you want to see how our precious leader protects BTS from rude fans? Then stick around and keep watching. Okay, let's get started, shall we? Getting hate comments and anti-fans is nothing rare. In fact, it's super normal that it's saddening to think that our faves have to deal with this negativity on a daily basis. And before you start pointing out how other idols are also receiving hate from netizens, allow me to elaborate why the amount of hate comments the boys have to deal with is on a whole different level. This is the reason why RM has to stand on guard on behalf of his members, not to mention the leader have to experience such harsh reality from the onset of their debut. Remember when RM made an appearance on an episode of 14th Show where he read some hate comments directed to him and the group? Well, while he did a great job taking the situation head on, I can only imagine how stressful it might be for him. Anyways, there's this particular comment saying that RM doesn't have the face of an idol. Okay, first of all, how dare you? Second of all, RM is good looking and very talented, so I don't really know where this K-net was coming from. Moving on, the leader also read a comment saying that BTS's songs were terrible, which was an obvious low blow to the idol. However, rather than backing off, the leader gave the most savage response. And while ARMYs expected the leader to have a very long and detailed response, what he said shocked and amazed fans. Even better than a long speech they were waiting for. Quote, "I will prove you all wrong." This is not the last time RM has to share a piece of his mind in order to defend his group from negativity, because sad to say, there are more. We all know BTS loves communicating with ARMYs through V-Live. However, this was a particular V-Live in the past that unfortunately made Jimin upset. Most netizens said that it was because Jimin had a very rude comment during the live, which is sad. We all know most of the viewers are probably ARMYs. Anyway, in the video, we can see how Jimin's face immediately dampens after reading something on his phone. And while RM didn't openly address the situation, you can clearly see how his expression became very serious when he noticed Jimin. I mean, look at his face, a little scary, huh? The leader quickly took over the conversation after that, and while the vocalist was still bothered about what he read, his members made sure to keep him away from the phone, which was very sweet and caring. Okay, moving on. I know the Grammys was one of the best and the worst things that happened last year. I say this because while the boys made history for being the first K-pop act to be nominated in the award show, the fact that they were basically robbed from that award just dampened everything. Thankfully, Namjoon was not having any of it since he and the members were obviously having so much fun despite all the crazy things that happened. During an interaction with Entertainment Tonight, the boys are asked to respond to trolls who hate on BTS, and RM gave a very classy and equally sassy answer. Even now, my ears are really itching because somebody's hating right now, on Twitter or anywhere. We have our fans and they purple us, and with that, we can get over anything. Well, that's definitely the kind of behavior we want to see, right? There was also a time when RM was left with no choice but to argue with another rapper because the latter was saying very rude things about him and BTS. I think ARMYs are well aware about the commotion Be Free caused before. If you're new in the fandom, then allow me to tell you the story. Before I start, I think it's important to point out how Suga and RM started as underground rappers before they made their debut as idols. It's a big deal in the sense that idol rappers usually face prejudice from the underground rappers who do not see them as true artists simply because they are idols. That is why BTS's rap line were so happy when they were invited to Kim Pong-yeon's Hip Hop Invitational First Anniversary broadcast, because there are other underground rappers who were invited together with them. However, things made a drastic turn when B.Free decided to comment about BTS and their music. During the broadcast, B.Free uncalled for comments saying, quote, "You guys could have taken the road towards becoming rappers, but you couldn't beat that temptation. Is BTS's music hip-hop? Is wearing makeup on stage like a girl hip-hop? Worst of all, the underground rapper even made comments about idols and their looks. Super rude, right?" Of course, RM did not have a choice but defend his group. I mean, we all know the leader takes a lot of pride when it comes to his music as well as BTS. So it's only expected for him to answer back. Armies were also enraged, and while B.Free did apologize approximately 6 years later, when the boys were achieving worldwide fame, fans were not easily moved and made it firm that they will not let him off the hook so easily. There was also an instance when RM had to shut down a very inappropriate question during a press conference. It happened during Map of the Soul Persona press conference, and while the boys were very happy to meet their fans once again with another superb album, a reporter decided it was the best time to be rude and throw uncalled questions towards the boys. If you can recall, this was also during the time when RM was accused of plagiarism, so anything related to this issue is very sensitive. But this reporter asked the boys about this matter during the press con, and to say that BTS didn't see it coming was an understatement. The reporter asked, quote, "I was curious if you were inspired by other works for your previous albums outside of the latest one." Of course, RM knows that it's an obvious trick question, so he made sure to clarify it, and this is when the reporter then stopped beating around the bush and cautiously asked what they thought about allegations that the blood, sweat, and tears concept was plagiarized from a French photographer's work. We can see how their expressions totally changed, especially RM, who was intently taking down notes while the questions were being thrown at them. And while it was Suga who ultimately shut down the rude reporter, thank you Suga, RM was clearly the first line of defense the boys have when it comes to unsolicited questions like this, and we can't thank him enough. It's also very nice to see how the leader learned a lot from dealing with these kinds of situations. Remember when I mentioned how haters would usually make rude and malicious comments about how he looks? Well, I have a message for you. RM doesn't care. In fact, the leader decided to turn the hate he is receiving into the moving force for him to advocate self-love. This is the very reason why the K-pop group was able to take part with UNICEF's Love Myself campaign, where they call younger generations to spread kindness. In the video they released, the boys talked about how their Love Myself campaign is all about encouraging young people to find love from within themselves and spread that love to others. Not to mention how RM literally left us in awe when he delivered his powerful speech during the groundbreaking of another BTS partnership with UNICEF. In his speech, the leader talked about how he used to be so concerned about what other people think of him that he ended up accommodating the molds they have instead. Gradually though, he mentioned how he decided to speak for himself and encourage others to do the same by saying this, quote, "Like most people, I've made many and plenty of mistakes in life. I have many faults and I have many more fears, but I'm gonna embrace myself as hard as I can. And I'm starting to love myself gradually, just little by little. What is your name? Speak yourself." You can't tell me you didn't have goosebumps even after how many times you've played the video. Since our leader is just so eloquent, he can completely pass as Korea's next president. Lastly, I think it's best suited that I quote a lyric from one of my favorite BTS cipher for when RM's verse says, quote, "I like hate comments more than no comments. I don't know you, but you know my name. I love myself." And when the hate keeps coming, then RM has one solution for that, just mic drop on those situations. Well, these rude people, as we as rude fans, will keep coming, and while it'll definitely become a handful in the future, it also means that the boys are just getting bigger and bigger, since we all know how haters target the popular ones. How about you? What do you think about these rude people? Let us know in the comments down below. Also, make sure to give this video a like and stay tuned for more. See you next time!